Hello, hello, hello. I'm give everybody just a few minutes to check in. All right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just gonna give a few seconds for people to check in. We are live today on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hey, Shanique. Hey, Shanique. Thank you for coming to join me today and spend some time with me with this resume critique. Let's give people time to get in, get in, get in. Let me know in the chat where you are checking in from. I want you to also hashtag live or hashtag replay so that other viewers will know whether or not you're live. I'll know when I go back and watch everything. I'll be able to see whether or not you saw me live or you saw me on the replay. Let's see. I'm going to put mine in the chat here. I am checking in from Birmingham. All right. Hey. So I got somebody that's coming in from LinkedIn, but I can't see your name. So I'll be able to go back and watch the live and then I'll see you guys. So since we got a couple people on here, I want to go ahead and just jump in and let you know why we are here today. So I am doing a live resume critique today. So I have someone that I'm going to invite on the show who is going to really help me do this resume critique. So it's a live resume, a real live person. So you're not thinking I just got some random resume. So I'm going to be talking to this individual today. And we will actually go through the resume kind of line by line and compare it to a particular job posting. So come on in, get yourself situated, tag a friend. I want you to share this on your feed to let people know that they need to come on in here and get this information. I will be answering questions in the chat. So if you have questions, if you need me to repeat something, you can go ahead and put your comments in the chat. So again, hashtag live or hashtag replay and let me know where you are checking in from. So I've got Montgomery. I'm in Birmingham. Let me know where you are. All right, we're gonna get this thing started. All right, so I'm going to assume that most of you are here because you already know me. But for some people who, when you're sharing this with your friends, you're tagging people and telling them to come join the live, I want them to know a little bit about who I am. So who is Ashley? So I'm Ashley Thomas. I'm a job search coach with Right Step Resumes. And I really help those promotion ready professionals. I help them transition out of their unfulfilling careers so that they land more interviews, more job offers for those multi-six-figure roles using the skills that they already have so that they can go and be great at these top tier brands. All right. So I do a lot of tips and strategies and also videos that help educate people about the application process, about the job search process, because having 20 years of recruiting experience and also resume writing experience that spans across maybe half that time, I do talk to people on a daily basis who struggle to figure out what it is that these employers want to see when it comes to resumes. They also are unsure of why, when they're looking at a job posting and they go to apply for a position, that they've been told that they're, not qualified, they're getting rejections, but they're not really sure. They're like, but I check every box, baby. I've got the experience. Why are y'all not calling me? And usually it's because of how you've translated your information in your resume. So it's not resonating with the person that's reading the resume. So I'm going to give you an overview of what the job posting looks like and compare it to a real life resume and show where where my guest actually falls short, and then where we can kind of beef up to make sure that they're meeting the qualifications for the job. So I'll be asking them a lot of questions, also to try to dig a little deeper and give them information about how they can up level their resume, how they can make the information better, so they're not afraid of the applicant tracking system or the ATS. Everybody's like, oh, well, the ATS is going to kick my resume out. It's going to automatically reject me. So I want to show how you may think in your head that you're qualified for an opportunity. But when we compare apples to apples, it's not really lining up that way. And usually it's not anything about your skills at all. It's how you're presenting those skills and how you're marketing those skills when it comes to your actual resume, because the resume is your key to the interview. So the resume only serves that purpose. So anybody who tells you otherwise is not being very truthful. The resume is not what gets you the job. It's what you do with that resume. It's how you market yourself with that resume. And it's how you get that resume in front of decision makers, and then how you're able to speak to or back that information up when it comes to that particular resume. Okay. So if go ahead and put your questions in the chat if you have them. Again, I want you to tell me where you're checking in from. Put hashtag live or hashtag replay, so I'll know when you saw this live video. And then I want you to tell me where, kind of where you're checking in from, and that, that kind of thing. All right. So moving right along. So what you can expect today, we're going to have an interactive critique session. Interactive means that I'm going to bring my guest on to the live, and we're going to have a conversation. So you're going to watch that conversation unfold live. And then I'm leaving space for you to ask questions in the chat. I'll be taking those questions. Some I may bring, and highlight so everybody can see what that question actually is. And then I'm going to show you some resume samples. So I'm going to show you some before and after, so you can get an idea of what is it that I actually do. And when people pay me to write their resumes, when they pay me for these coaching sessions or critique sessions that I do with them, how do I help them up-level their resume? So I want you to see this information live. And then I have an offer for you. So how would I be a business owner, right, if I don't sell you something, right? So I do want to give you a lot of information, but I want to give you an opportunity to work with me one-on-one if that is something that you would want to do, so that you can get some of the results that I've been able to get with my clients. And then we'll talk about some testimonials, and then again, open up the chat. So at any point, if you have questions throughout this, go ahead and do it. And then I'm going to give you information about how you can connect with me and how you can work with me. Again, some people are watching this from Facebook, from LinkedIn, and also from YouTube. So wherever you're commenting from, I'm so happy that you're here. And I want you to enjoy yourself. So don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because I do this every single day. And I know that you're trying to navigate this job search process. And I just want to bring clarity around the things that really give people a headache when they're trying to figure out, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? So again, thank you. Thank you for being here. All righty. So welcome to the stage, George.
Hi, thank you for having me here today.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to talk to George today about his resume. So if you can see, this is George's resume to the left, and then you can see on the right, this is a copy of the job posting that he is interested in applying to. So for confidentiality purposes, I have removed his personal information, but I am going to talk about the job search process, the application process, and how the information is perceived from a recruiting standpoint if George had submitted the resume for this particular opportunity. Okay. So let me know whether or not everybody can see this. I want you to put ones in the comments if you can see everything. Okay. All right. Hey, Tiana. Hey, Nikita. Desiree, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. All right, cool. So everybody can see it. I'm going to make this a little bigger for my 40-plus-year-old eyes. Okay. So on the left, we have George's resume. So the first thing I noticed is that George has his name, and it's the biggest thing on the resume. Just how it should be. Because when I open a resume, I want to know, who does that resume belong to? Before I start looking at the content, I'm looking at the person's name. I'm looking at where they're located, because as you can see over to the right, let me know if you guys can see my cursor. Can you see the cursor when I'm moving here? Okay. All right, good deal. So when I open up somebody's resume, I want to make sure that I can see it, that where they're located, or, so this position is in Toronto, and George lives in Toronto. Okay. So, that's going to check the box, especially because this position is hybrid. So there's a lot of confusion around whether or not a position is actually, when they say remote, but then they say that you have to be located in a certain area. And a lot of times that's due to multiple things. So it may be that the role that you're applying to has a specific requirement about your location, because you have to have familiarity with that area. So if this was a sales position, if this was a position that required travel throughout the particular territory, they may assign a specific location that you have to be in, regardless of it being remote. There's also differences in payroll taxes. So a lot of companies don't want you to work in, this person in California, this person is in, this person may be in Canada, this person may be in, in Georgia, or somebody's in Alabama, because there are different, for payroll tax reasons, for the locational proximity that you have to be to the actual office. So when you see those hybrid positions, you can automatically assume that there's a location requirement there. But be careful when it comes to those postings that have remote, but then they require you to be in a certain location. Don't be mad at it. There's just, I'm just giving you some insight as to why that may happen. But then, also, I don't necessarily agree. I think remote should be remote. Hybrid, that means I feel like you spend 1 day on site or 1 hour on site. That's hybrid. But anywho, so I checked to make sure that because this is a hybrid position, that there's location proximity, and there is Toronto versus Toronto. So right away, I'm like, cool. Georgia's somebody that I need to go ahead and continue down the resume. So if you see these highlighted areas that I've put on the job posting, those are things to let you know what I'm looking for as a recruiter. So when I have my intake call with my hiring manager, we're looking for somebody of a specific job title. So maybe we're looking for that person to have held that job title before. So the job title itself is always going to be a keyword. Okay, so we've heard a lot about keywords, but what are they, right? So keywords are those words that let me know that you've done the job before, that you have experience in a certain thing, or you have knowledge of a certain thing. So think about those things that you would say were your strengths, your areas of expertise. Maybe it will be something that you have experience doing. It may be a certain topic that, it's your zone of genius. So with me being a recruiter, then some of the things that I'm going to be looking for as a recruiter would be different than what I'm looking for this front end developer. So when I see those job titles, automatically it's going to, get me on the track of thinking, okay, this person may be qualified. And then I'm going to look at some other things. Do they have the right amount of years of experience? I'm looking for their education. I'm also looking to make sure that I've got a way to contact them. And as you can see, we're on George's contact information, and he's got the Toronto is there. We've got his LinkedIn profile. We've got an email address. And then we also have a phone number. So we have several different ways that we can contact George. Okay, so that's good. The thing is, part of the job title is within the contact information section. So what I would say, George, is that you would need to remove front-end developer from your contact information, because when you apply into the system, the applicant tracking system is going to parse the information from your resume, and it's going to fill in the blanks. So it's going to put something in the name field. It's going to put something in the address field. It's going to put something in, say, your email address field, and then phone number, and so on. And so when you put your the title of the position that you're targeting, or the title, that you go by, when you put that information in contact information, it could confuse the system. So your name could end up being George front-end developer, right? Or it could have your address being front-end developer. So I would suggest that you move the front-end developer title, move that right above skills. So where you're starting the skills section, I would go ahead and move that information down so that you have a clear distinction between what is your contact information and then where your resume starts. Okay. So always have a title to the resume. And since the position that you're applying to is called a senior software engineer dash front end, you may use a dual title there. So you may say front end developer, but then you may have a slash, and then you can say software engineer. So that way you're picking up that keyword, because remember, the job title is always the very first keyword, always. So so you may not, if your job isn't considered being a software engineer, because some people will say, well, what if I haven't done that job before? I don't want to title my resume as something that I don't have experience with, right? So what you could do is put career target, and then list the positions that you would be targeting. So that would be front-end developer, it may be software engineer, and then it may be some other title that's similar, but you can use just two. You can just use the front-end developer or the software engineer, just to say what your career target is or your position target. And that way you feel more truthful about calling yourself a software engineer, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the very, very first keyword. Then your resume walks right into your skills section. So right here, I'm missing a little bit of that branding piece. And that's just because it leads right from your contact information into your skills. Now, some people may say, well, I don't need a whole bunch of information at the top of the resume. I kind of want to just get to it. But so your resume has to pass through 3 layers. So you're going to make it through the applicant tracking system, right? Because that has to understand the content of your resume. And then you are also having to pass the recruiter. The recruiter 9 times out of 10 doesn't have your software background. So it's definitely important for you to look at the keywords that are in the job posting and then include those same keywords into your resume. So there are some areas where you did this well, and then there were areas where we definitely want to beef that up. So let's continue on with the actual job posting. So here we see that the job posting, so I've highlighted the first keyword, which is the job title. And then they also refer to this position as a front-end engineer. So already we have 3 different titles. We have a senior software engineer, we have front-end engineer, and then we have front-end developer, which is your true and current title right now, right? So your resume title could end up being career target, front-end developer, software engineer, front-end engineer, right? So you've got 3 different things. So those are the types of positions I'm targeting. That's why I'm here. That is what that resume title would let you know. And I'll show later on some examples of how you can use a resume title as part of the keywords. And so if we move down to what will you accomplish? So it says front end components and applications. So right now I'm looking at George's resume and I'm looking for the words front end components or front end applications, not really seeing it in those particular terms. So that may be something that you want to include, George, is to show that you truly have experience, because it wants you to have experience developing applications or developing those components. And so what I would like to see is in your skills section, since you have focused very heavily on the skills or the types of systems that you have experience with, I would take it a step further and add those true skills, because what these are not necessarily skills, those are systems that you have experience with. So you could have a separate section for systems or software, and then you have another section that says competencies, areas of expertise, or areas of strength, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you're comfortable with. But here I would like to see somewhere where you're showing me right away that you do have experience developing applications. So you may list that as application development. That would be a keyword. And then it lists that you need to have experience with using React and then Node.js. So I do see in your skills section that you have listed that you have experience with React and Node.js. So automatically I'm like, well, he's got the systems that I want. So that's a check in the box as well. So already you've got about 3 checks, because you've got the job title, you have the systems, and then you also have the location. Okay. So you've got, like I said, you're doing some things right, but we just want to take you from good to great. Okay. And then there's another keyword is web interfaces. So I'm looking at George's resume and I'm looking for the words web interfaces. So I'm not seeing web interfaces, but I do see that he's done some launches. I see that he, has done some things with, developing things to improve their adaptability. And, and he's done some development to help things with readability and, and all of that. But I'm not really seeing the information that I need when it comes to those web interfaces. I'm also not seeing, again, that application development or front end development. So right now I'm just going through these keywords of what this job would actually be looking for. And then it wants you to have experience with coding, right? So do you have experience with coding, George?
Yeah, like it's my job.
All right. So I want you to, to kind of scan the document and see how many times you've said code. So I see it in the 3rd bullet, a front-end developer, where you've actually enhanced code, right? So I will be looking for that.
Okay.
Where else did you work with code?
Sorry?
I see it in your current job. Where else did you work with code?
Like the front-end development is everything about coding.
Yes, but you're making that assumption, right? Because I'm a recruiter.
And you
I'm not a coder.
Okay.
I'm not a front-end developer. So that may not be an assumption that I make, right? Even the applicant tracking system, it is looking for these particular words, especially if it's an applicant tracking system that ranks resumes in order of the match that they are to the posting. even though it seems like it's an understood, because if I'm applying for a recruiting role, right, I think interviewing candidates and reviewing applications, I feel like that's a no-brainer, right? How else do I do my job? But as far as a system checking for those words or a person checking for those words, you can't assume that it's a no-brainer for the person reading your resume or the system that is parsing words from your resume. Okay. So that may be something that you want to make more clear. That's why this having the skills section is very important, because if you are working with code, if you are working with those different, those different systems, it needs to be plainly written on your resume for it to count. Because if it's not on your resume, it doesn't exist. Okay. Because if you have to think about it, if I was in a court of law and they say, why did you hire George? Because his resume doesn't show that he's qualified. And then I say, well, he told me that he had it. Well, what about all the other candidates that may have applied who had it too, and they didn't list it on their resume too? I didn't interview them. So then I get into a situation of why George and not these others. Right. So that's why you have to put your information there if you actually have it. All right. And then there's some information about scalability, component design, user experience strategy. So have you dealt with the user experience? I really answered it is, but I'm asking. Yes. User experience. Where did you develop a strategy for user experience?
Again, everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. So you've got to have those words there, because again, if it's not there, then how do I know that? Because you could have been developing, applications and not caring about the user experience.
Okay.
So you have to make that plain. So we make no assumptions. This position also does some mentoring and then guiding of junior developers. So tell me where you've done that. Where have you mentored, trained, or guided somebody?
I've done that in my second company, like from the top.
Okay. All right. So in that second position, you did it. So I see where you coached and mentored junior developers. That is an exact phrase from the job posting. So I would be looking for that as well. So there you go. And then we've got continuous improvement. So where did you work with continuous improvement? Like I said, I know most of the answers to these questions already, but again, it's not here. So I can't make that assumption at all. So where did you deal with continuous improvement?
It's again everywhere.
Yeah. So you see how you do these things on a regular basis, and so they become no-brainer to you, right? Because you're like, this is how I do my job. What else am I going to be doing besides these things? But it's not no-brainer to everybody. And so we need to, if you have the experience, your resume has to mirror what that job posting is actually asking for. Okay. All right. So let's skip to the experience section. This is where they're telling you what you will bring to the table. So it says that you have to have 5+ years of experience in front-end development. So according to your resume, you have how many years of experience in front-end development?
5.
Okay. So if we take away the internship, do we still have about 5?
Yeah, about 5, maybe a bit less.
Okay. So you're right on the cusp, right? So because we have to assume that not every company is going to appreciate internships. They, internships hold different weights just depending on the hiring manager, depending on the company, depending on that culture and how they value internships. It also depends on what you did in that internship, whether or not I'm going to give you credit for work experience. How do I know what you did in that intern developer position? There's no content there. There's no context to tell me what you worked on in that position. So I'm probably not going to give you too much weight for that, because people hire interns and they're paper pushing, they're answering the phones, they're sweeping the floors and, and stuff like that. And they're just, tagging a title onto it. And so that's how internships have kind of, lost their thunder, if you think about it that way. But it's up to you to build that up. And really, you're trying to convince people that, yeah, I may have been an intern. It may have been non-paid, but I worked my butt off. And these are the successes that I had in those roles. And so I think part of the reason why you were not able to get that information in there about the internship is because you're trying to keep your resume to one page. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yeah.
Yes. So let's address the one page thing. So it is not necessary for you to keep your resume to one page. Now, if it is a specific requirement for that company, because every company is different, all the requirements are different. But generally speaking, there have been recruiters that have been polled across the globe who have been asked about whether or not a one-page resume is required. The answer is no, because the resume needs to have enough information on it for me to make a decision about your candidacy if I'm the recruiter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you find that you're leaving information off or you're having to delete things that you find to be very valuable, but you have to delete it for the sake of your resume being one page, then you have to find other areas where you can trim things down. So you could have put your location, your LinkedIn profile, your email address, and your phone number all on the same line. That would have given you 3 extra lines of space that you could have used to talk about that front end developer internship that you had, right? So you could have talked about what you did in there, talked about projects that you worked on, just short little sentences just to give context to that particular role. The same thing throughout these other positions. There should be a job scope that explains, 1 or 2 lines explaining what you were hired to do. What were the responsibilities for that role? What were the tasks that you were, brought on board to handle or complete? What challenges were there that you were expected to to fix, those types of things, right? Then your bullets are going to be accomplishments. So the good thing that you did here is that all of your bullets are pretty much their accomplishments. Now they're not front loaded, and front loaded means where you talk about the result first. So in order to get these scenarios or these bullet points on your resume, I would say that you guys, if you use the PAR format, you can definitely come up with some bullets for your resume. So the PAR format is where you talk about the problem, you talk about the action, and you talk about the result. So for your resume, though, you use that same scenario, but you're going to flip it on its head and it becomes RAP, right? So it's a result and then the action and the problem. So you talk about the result and then how you achieved it, right? So if we look at your first bullet, then if you said that you did a thing, right, and it led to a 20% reduction in billing errors, and then 15% it increased process efficiency. So what I would like to see is what happened first. Okay, so if you reduced manual billing errors 20% and then you increased process efficiency 15%, you did that by integrating a comprehensive billing module using Stripe. Okay. Now, the only time I say that it's not really, preferable to front load your achievement is if what you did is more aligned with the position. So you have to think about it. Is you creating the module more important than the result that you achieved?
Mm-hmm.
So was the fact that you built the module, is that what I'm focusing on? In your case, probably so. And that's because this position is heavily focused on application development, right?
Yeah.
Web development. So here you want to put the focus on what you developed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it may be okay in this particular situation that you talk about the development part of it first, and you talk more about what you did to build that billing module, right? Because then you're going to talk about that more in the interview anyway. But you put that part first and then you put into. So you don't have to, always front load the achievement, but it's helpful because that's typically what we're looking for, the result. And then we want to know how you did it. So
Mm-hmm.
there may be, there's exceptions to every rules, to every rule when it comes to resume. So you don't have to say, okay, it has to be done this way. It's black and white. It's either yes or no, whatever. There are some gray areas. So you do what is best for you in your particular situation. Even still, I'd like to see at least a 1 or 2 liner explaining the scope of your job, what you were hired to do, and then your accomplishment bullets from there. So again, we got the 5 years of experience, and I would say you probably fall a little bit short of that 5+ years because of the dates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll address the dates in just a minute. But because you are so close, you think about what it is that you're missing. If it's just you're missing is shy of a couple months, shy of just 1 year or so, go ahead and shoot your shot. Just go ahead and try it and let them tell you no. Don't rule yourself out, especially when you're very close. You're very kind of on the edge with that.
Mm-hmm.
So so the reason why I say your dates are pretty inconsistent when it's how it's laid out. So you've got December of 2022 to present, you've got September to December, and then you've got just the years. So you have to pick a format and stay with it because the applicant tracking system likes consistency. When people are scanning your resumes, like when they're on the phone, they're looking at your resume real quick, we want consistency. Because when your structure of your resume, so each one of your sections has your, the blue outline, right? So I see that right away. So I know I'm looking at skills. I know I'm looking at work experience, but I'm looking at dates. Okay, it's like there, but boom, now I don't have the months. So now I have questions. So even though this position was part-time, put the months. Was it January to December? Because that's 1 year.
Oh,
Or was it May to July? Right? So that's just a couple months. So you could be shortchanging yourself some experience because you're not listing the month and the year.
okay.
Okay. And then the recruiter is going to ask you anyway, well, how long were you there? Because we are using that to one, calculate how many years of experience you have, but then we're also doing it because we want to, to make sure that, we can tell the hiring manager how much experience you have doing a particular thing at a certain place, right?
Mm.
So, you could be chopping off your money by not putting that, like I said, in 2020, I don't know, did you work the entire 2020 or did you work just a couple months or whatever? Because I'm going to add all that up and decide whether or not you have the 5+ years of experience.
Mm.
So yeah, so there's that. And then you've got proficiency in TypeScript. So I do see TypeScript there. So we're good to go on there. I don't see JavaScript.
JavaScript. Oh, yeah, I should have added it.
Yep. So we've got it. Yep. So remember, in your head that you've got experience with JavaScript, but if somebody is reading the resume and comparing it to the job posting, you're going to miss that. And then there is I see you have CSS, but they are asking specifically for CSS3.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yep, yep. So there's another one, and then we also see that there's asking for experience with web development tools. So keywords are going to be those words that they say over and over again, because you see some of these things they keep saying it over and over and over again.
Okay.
And then we've got state management libraries. I don't know that I see that you have managed any type of data libraries or anything like that. So is that something that you've done?
Oh, yeah, I have the state managers in my skills section.
Yep. So then we would need to, to make sure that you're adding that to your resume. So that's where you need to beef up and add that content there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the other part is like Webpack, Babel, and NPM. So I don't see either one of those.
Oh, yeah, because this
I
slide,
see Webpack. Nope, you got Webpack there. I missed that one. And then what else? Go ahead.
these technologies I used everywhere, so I decided not to write them down on my
Yeah.
CV.
Yeah, and I see what you were doing. You were like, well, if I've already got it and I do something that I do every day, they're going to know this, right? And again, no assumptions. So whatever systems you have, especially if they're in the job posting, you want to mirror that on your resume always.
Mhm.
And then there's some other stuff. We've got RESTful. I think did I see RESTful? Okay, so RESTful API. They want you to have experience with those. Do you have that experience?
Yes, I do, but I don't have it in my CV.
Yep.
Again.
Yep. So you're noticing a theme here that you have this experience and you are actually qualified for it, for this particular position. I would
Mhm.
tell you to go ahead and apply to it. So I see that your education, you have a business diploma. And so would that be the equivalent to a bachelor's degree?
No, that's 1 year less.
Okay. All right.
2 year program.
So the requirement here is that you have to have either a master's and 4 years of experience, or you have a bachelor's and 6 years of experience. So in the event that you don't now, don't get don't get in your in the, oh, I'm gonna reject myself because I don't have it. If your business diploma involved you doing things with computer science, with web development, with all of those, it may be helpful for you to list those courses out.
Mhm.
So that that you have experience with that. But that would be a requirement that where you fall short in this opportunity. And so I would say if you're missing about what about a year or two, and then you're missing the education piece on that as well, with networking, with conversations with the hiring team, they very well may still hire you or interview you, but you may not be brought in at that senior level.
Okay.
Because senior is saying that you have this level of experience. So they may bring you in as a junior, or they may bring you in as just a regular. So sometimes, like when I've hired for software and mechanical and electrical engineers, we have levels, which is 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5 was our principals. So you may be able to get, still get in, but be just at a lower level than what the position is advertised, because they probably can't legally bring you in as a senior lacking the education piece and then lacking the years of experience. So they may have to downgrade this position.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the conversation that I would have with my hiring manager. Well, would you bring this person in as a regular or level 2 or level 1, or, or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you do have the foundation of this position. So I can see why you were interested in it. So then let's talk about, it was another area where I wanted to focus on. I do like that you bolded your job titles. And again, it's repetitious. You are front end developer, full stack, all that. So I know that you have that experience. So I'm going to make an assumption that you have the skills. But if I've got 100, 200 other people who have outlined it very nicely and they didn't forget to put these things in there, a lot of times that's why people are falling short. So it's not that you're applying for positions that you're not qualified for.
Mm-hmm.
It's just other people are qualified too. And they may have outlined their information a lot better than you did, which is why they got the interview and you didn't, right?
Okay.
So before you apply to this opportunity, make the updates to your resume on the things that we talked about. The contact information section, we want to update that. We want to make sure that you have a branding statement that talks about the type of work that you do, a resume title that at least describes the types of roles that you're interested in. And then we want to also make sure that we list your competencies and your strengths in addition to your software skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me what questions you have, because this is a good start. This is a good start right here. I really feel like you can walk away, take this feedback, make these updates, and then let me take a look at it. And then you can move forward and apply for the role or something similar.
Yeah, but just one question. So I have to add some skills,
Mm-hmm.
don't have now. Will it be fine if my skill section will be like twice more than now? Is it okay?
For it to be bigger than what it
Yeah.
is? Yeah. So there are some times that I list about 15 to 20 skills that are relevant to the position. And then I list software skills separately. And
Mm-hmm.
I do have where I'm going to show some samples of where I've done that. And I even, have created just a little one liner. It doesn't take up a whole lot of space, but just the one line in the, on the resume that explains those software skills, that explains any soft skills that you may have. But as far as the competency section and, and stuff like that, then I definitely would want you to, focus less on how many you're going to put there. Just make sure that they're highly relevant.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yep. Does that sound good for you?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. And I want to give you some, some time to, collect your thoughts, to maybe go back and watch the replay, make your updates to your resume. I've already highlighted, the skills and everything here that you want to have incorporated. Let me take a look at the resume and then I'll clean it up for you.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much today. Anything else that you want to say? Any closing thoughts?
No, just
all right.
thank you very
Well,
much.
you are more than welcome to stick around when I show the resume samples, and you can jump in the chat if you have additional questions.
Okay, thanks.
Hey,
Have a good
thank
one.
you.
Bye.
All right. So I'm going to take some questions from the chat here. Let's see. So Tashika wants to know, do you give advice on healthcare resumes? I absolutely do. So I've recruited in the healthcare space before. I have tons of clients that are in the healthcare space. So just depending on what you're applying to, what your current resume looks like, it may be as simple of booking a session with me and let's run through your resume and I'll give you some feedback on the things that you need to change, how you can better position yourself, and you can start applying. Yep. So yes, I handle positions across multiple industries because I've recruited in several different spaces. I've done manufacturing, healthcare, nonprofit, legal, automotive manufacturing, and also medical devices manufacturing as well. Banking. I've been kind of all over the place in my 20 years of recruiting. So I use those skills, and I've recruited across multiple spaces as well within those industries. So yeah. If you want to book, I offer free calls. So if you want to book a call on my calendar, you can do so at my website. Let's see who else is checking in. All right. So let's do another. So I have another question. Is there a good way to transition to another industry if you only have one area of experience on your resume? Yeah, Akita, that's a great question. So if you are transitioning from one industry to another, the best thing for you to do is look and see what the types of positions in your new industry or in your target industry, what are they looking for? And then you can analyze your experience, your skills, your knowledge, your education, and all of that, and see where you fall short. So see where the parallel is. I have helped people transition from teaching into nursing. I've helped people go from nonprofit fundraising and stuff into sales. I've helped people make the transition from project management into HR. So there's different things that you can do, but it's about focusing on your transferable skills that you held in that position, or that you handled in that position, or that you learned in that position. You don't have to, because you can't take your experience away. I mean, your experience is what it is, right? If you've been doing a thing. But the goal is to figure out, what did I do in my role and how did that prepare me for where I'm headed? So if you're looking to transition, what is this new target industry asking me for? What are they requiring of me? And what have I done similarly in my work? So you would focus. So for instance, if you were going from accounting to marketing, I don't really care about the general ledger stuff you've done. I don't care about the balance sheets and all that stuff. I want to know about what you did from a marketing standpoint. So did you write brochures? Were you the person announcing new programs that were coming out? Did you handle any email campaigns around the work that you did? So don't give me the stuff that I don't want to know, right? And because it's understood, if you were accountant, that's just what you did. But tell me the things that you did in that role that were relevant to where you're headed. All right, so let's see. Moving on. Let's see if we've got some more. All right, so it looks like we're doing good in the chat. So here is a client resume before. And so you can see it's a one-pager. It's a lot of information, here from this person. So when Jennifer came to me, Jennifer was a business owner. She was trying to transition back into corporate because she was in the process of selling her business, or a portion of the business, and she was getting rejected left and right. She was trying to make her resume be one page and stay at that one page mark, because that's what so many people have learned, is that their resume has to be one page. But your resume can be 2 pages. The average resume that I write is going to be anywhere between 1 to 3 pages, with 2 pages being the front runner by far. And that's because most of the people that I'm working with are mid-career to senior level, and so you're going to have worked a work history that spans over about 10 years or so, right? And so anybody with 10 years of experience, unless you had one job at that one company, more than likely you're going to have a 2-page resume. So content is always number one. That's a number one priority. So focus less on whether or not you focus less on how long your resume needs to be, how pretty it needs to be, the color of it, all that. You focus on that last, because the first and foremost priority that you have as a candidate is making sure that your experience, that you've given enough information about that experience so that the person reading your resume can make a decision about whether or not you're qualified, right? And so if you're giving that information, which is a job scope, and then you may have a couple of bullets, anywhere from 3 to 5 bullets under your positions, you're going to have that, you're going to have a longer resume. So we talked about how we can expand or extend Jennifer's resume so that we can really, really see what that document should look like. If you guys are wanting to see these resumes up close, in personal, right there where you can kind of flip through it and read through it or whatever, you can go to my LinkedIn profile. I have posted these before and afters on my most recent post, I think. So if you want to take a look at them there, you can see them there. I didn't do the screen shares here just for you to be able to read every word. This is just here so you can get a visual aspect of what these resumes look like. But anyway, so this person, like I said, Jennifer was a business owner. So the first thing that people saw when she said that she was self-employed or whatever, they couldn't get over the fact that she had her own business. And me having a business and having worked at corporate at the same time, it can produce its challenges, right? So you have to get employers away from thinking about the fact that you're self-employed or that you have your own business. It works very well when your business isn't tied to your name. All right. So because my business is Right Step Resumes, I focus on the fact that I'm a resume writer or that I'm a job search coach. I don't say that I'm the owner of Right Step Resumes, because for you, as someone who may want to work with me potentially, do you care that I'm the owner, or do you just care that I can help you? Do you care that I'm the resume writer? Do you care that I'm the coach, right? So think about what's going to be important information for that employer to know. It's not really necessary for them to know that you're self-employed at the point of application, right? Now you have to tell them for conflict of interest reasons, most likely if you start or you proceed to offer. But you want the focus of your resume to be on the skills and the types of competencies and things like that that you have handled throughout your time in your business, because you're trying to show them that you're using those skills in your business to help them in their business. That's what you want the focus to be on, not the fact that you have this business and you may leave them in a heartbeat if things don't go right, and you're just using them to kind of wade you through until business picks up for you. You don't want to give them that type of impression. So don't lead with the fact that you have had that business. All right. So you can see that at the bottom of this resume, we've got a bunch of so the college, the training, the certifications and training, and then other colleges all crammed down there together. And so it's really hard when you're trying to get all of this information onto this resume. So here's what the resume actually looked like after we got done. So you see we expanded that. So we gave it room to breathe. And we also were able to showcase a brand. So if you can see here, we've got the resume title. And so this person was applying for a senior administrative support role. That was the title of the position. So we wanted to make sure that we drove home that this person is a senior administrative support person. And then in the brand, we talked about basically who they are, what they do, and how they add value. And then we've got the competencies section where we're listing out those specific competencies or areas of strength. And then when I was talking about earlier with George, we were talking about the soft skills. And so when you're looking at soft skills, that don't necessarily need them on the resume, taking up a whole bunch of space. But here, since there were so many soft skills that were the focus, and this is sort of an administrative position, I decided to just add a little one-liner, and we have the space for it. So added a one-liner to talk about the soft skills that they have, and then added another one-liner to outline the specific systems that they have experience with. And then instead of we have it, where the company name is the consulting firm, right? And of course, I use a real thing on a real person's resume, but this is anonymized for obvious reasons, for confidentiality. But yeah, so we've got a title that is not CEO and founder, because it tells me nothing about the skills or the value that this person's bringing to the table. We're looking at now that the title is Senior Administrative Support Advisor. So this is what this person does. She serves as a Senior Administrative Support Advisor to her clients, right? And so we went into detail. We have a job scope. So talked about what she was hired to do. And then each bullet is the accomplishments, the things that she accomplished. So we incorporated keywords throughout. And you see, we gave the education section and just the resume in general a whole lot of time, a whole lot of space to breathe. All right. And then this is a resume. I think I wrote this for a client back in, I don't know, it may have been the earlier 2015-ish or so, or whatever. So you can see it's really basic. And so there is a resume title. There's a branding statement of sorts. There's education and licensing, and then there's professional experience. Everything's bullets. And so I had to take it away from, and check myself and rewrite this resume from an up-leveled standpoint of focusing on how to brand this person for the type of opportunities that they wanted, but putting the attention where it should be. So since we wanted the focus to be more on the experience, I had to take this resume and kind of shift it around a bit. And then I had to separate out the bullets, because the bullets are tasks, they are achievements, everything all kind of wrapped up into one, when we want it to be the structure to have a scope to explain again what you were hired to do, and then the bullets explaining the accomplishments. So when we did the after, you see this is a very different looking resume now, right? And you see how it, if you compare the two, this one just looks like money. compared to the other resume, right? And people do make those judgments about you based on what your resume looks like, based on how you talk about yourself or explain the things that you have experience with, or explain the things that you've done. We look at that, right? So how you market yourself, how you position yourself can determine not only how much money you make, but it can determine the level of position that you're hired into. So again, we focus on those main competencies. So there's a strengths area, and then each position has a little summary about what they were hired to do, and then each bullet is an accomplishment, and then we put the education last. So if you have experience, your education goes last unless you are transitioning. And so, say for instance, you went back to school to get a marketing degree or to get a project management certification, you may want to put those things first if you lack experience in the area where you're transitioning. Okay. All right. So that is sample number 2. So here's another. So this is a resume that I did for someone who is in the banking industry. And they came to me because they had recently been laid off. And and let me go back. So this person actually increased their salary by like 70% since the time that we began working together. Now that's probably even doubled because this person has now progressed and they've gone on to, senior leadership roles, executive level, board memberships, all this stuff. So they're doing all these great things. But it was basically from the confidence that they were able to get from having resume coaching from me. We rewrote the resume. We pulled out the accomplishments. And in doing so, it was preparing for the interview. Because when you work with me as your resume writer, you're not only getting a document, you're getting a confidence boost. You're getting the skills that you need to be able to communicate your value, whether it's in person or on paper, whether it's on, online when you're messaging with people. So it's a whole experience. It's a vibe. It's not just a document when you work with me. It's more than just a document. I work to lift people up, to up level individuals from where they are so that they can make more money, they can get more interviews, that they can get those leadership positions when they haven't had direct reports before. So they know how to express those things about themselves with confidence because I've already asked them all those questions and challenged what experience they had versus what experience they didn't. So they were prepared to have those conversations when it came to interviews. So Jennifer got her job. 5 weeks is all it took from our session. And she volunteered for a session just like this. We went through the session. We cleaned up this resume, got it out there. 5 weeks she was working. All right. So salary, 7% bump. I don't know about you, but I would love to have a 70% increase in my pay. I don't care if it took me, 2-3 years to do it. 70%, that's quite a bit. All right. So anyway, so with this one, had been recently laid off and really just having trouble putting things together in a way that made them stand out because there are a lot of people who had the same type of experience as this individual because, this is a common position, business analyst, project manager. This is all through. Well, when having the conversation with this particular client, I found out that the project management piece, even the business analysis piece, wasn't really what they wanted to do. So their job title wasn't truly reflecting the work that they did. Right. So how many of you have had that situation? Put it in the chat for me, where your job title says one thing, but then you're doing something completely different. Right. So you may have, job responsibilities that are something different from the original job description. And so that's what was happening here. So while this person's, their experience and their desire was to work in compliance, data governance, and also that data management space, we needed to take the focus off these other things that were less important. So what we did with the document was, again, we gave them a brand. So you can see that we have the branding statement or the summary statement at the top of the resume. We have put the target positions there. And that's what I said, even though you didn't have those titles as as an official job title, you can put that at the top of your resume so that the people reading your resume can understand what types of jobs you're targeting. So they were looking for records information, data governance, and information retention type positions. So we put the target job titles there. And then you can see the titles of the actual positions. And we put a blurb there too. Let me back up. We put a blurb because their position had been eliminated in July of 2024. right? So we wanted people to know that they're actively job searching, that they, because people want to know what happened with that job, why are you not working there anymore? And so this is really helpful for people who have excessive gaps on their resume, because they may have been laid off, because they may have taken time off to care for a sick family member, whatever that is. And so putting that explanation on the resume, it takes the guesswork out of it, so that when a recruiter is reading it, they're not tempted to skip over the person because they know, like, oh, they're not working, I don't know what they were doing during that time. You put the explanation there. So a lot of times you can explain things on your resume to reduce the amount of questions or pushback you may be getting from hiring teams. So we decided to address this at the top of the resume. It's at the top of the experience section of the resume. And then as far as the job titles, we use slash titles here so that they can get, while my official title was business analyst, what I really did was records and information management. Right. So that's why we use the slash title, because if you have those generic type titles, but you have a specialization, you can put your official title, just for truth purposes, because you don't want to stretch it. You want to make sure that it's actually verifiable information. Right. But then we were able to, to kind of tie in, not only to grasp that keyword, but to also demonstrate how this person's experience was relevant to that records management, data governance, type information. And then you can see on the original resume, there was a position that went back from 1990 to 2002. So ageism is real. It's real. So I did not want this individual to apply for positions and then they think that, you're 3,000 years old, because ageism starts at around, even though the protected age is 40, right? Ageism starts between 35 and 37. So I graduated college in 2002. People may look at my face and think otherwise, like, well, I wouldn't, I'm not what people could consider old, right? Unless you're in your 20s. Because when I was 20 and somebody was 40, baby, you was old as dirt. So in knowing that, that's how we think when we're foolish and young. You want to make sure that you're not giving the impression that maybe you're behind the times or that your experience is obsolete, right? So if you have a position that is older than 10 years old, and say you may have started that position 10 years ago, and then you didn't end until, later in the 2000s, well, you probably got to leave that position on it if you've held that same position during that time. But I would say don't go further back than 10 to 15 years on your resume. Don't go back that far, because most job postings aren't asking for that much experience. They're asking for, maybe 5 to 7. I've even seen 7 to 10 years of experience, especially for those executive level roles. But still, even with my executive clients, it's not necessary for us to go back further than 10 to 15 years. Now, if you're pulling from experience that is older, and that's because you're trying to get back into something that you used to do before, there are other ways to bring that information to the top. And you can do that in your summary section or by creating a career highlights section where you're talking about the success and the type of experience that you have in those, in those roles, but you're not dating it by putting an actual position there. Okay. So you see, we cut it off. And so their oldest position was there from 2005 to 2007. And so as we continue, to go on, and we left that position on there because at this point, I would even say that position could go. But we left the position there to show the depth of the experience that they have of being a lead, because we wanted to capture more of that management experience as well. So yeah, so this is what, this is the information that the resume that we ended up with. And this client actually secured an offer, not an interview, an offer within 17 days of us finalizing this resume. Okay. I don't know about you, but I would love those types of results, especially because being laid off can be so hard. It can be so wrecking when it comes to your confidence, to your self-esteem, even thinking that your skills are not good enough. I know I questioned when I was laid off, I questioned whether or not I knew my job. I questioned whether or not I was performing well. I had all of these thoughts. And so the fact that, I was able to, to work with a mentor, to work with somebody who, who knew what to, to do and what to tell me how to, make changes to my resume, I was able to get a job, pretty quickly as well. But yes, 17 days just by asking the right questions, positioning the information correctly, and then being able to have this person communicate their value, across the board. Absolutely. This is how you get interviews and offers in 17 days. All right, so here are some testimonies. Here are some things that clients have said about me. And I'm going to shift over to the comment section because I want to see if you guys have any more questions. Y'all still good? All right, so I worked with Kimberly. Kimberly enjoyed the coaching style, the empowerment, and you'll see just themes in what these clients have said about working with me. Yeah, I don't really tell people what they need to, what they want to hear. I'm gonna lay it out for you exactly how it needs to come across because I'm on your side. I am on your team when you hire me as your coach. So if you're sitting across from a recruiter, they don't care anything about you. The hiring manager doesn't care anything about you. So we get it together when it comes to a session with me, when it comes to you joining one of my programs. There's accountability attached to it. I'm going to challenge the thing that you say. I'm going to make you prove what you tell me you have experience with. Because if we get to analyzing these job postings and then you're not able to convince me and I'm on your side, what you think going to happen in these interviews? You're not going to be able to, convince somebody that you've got that experience. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to do it. So then we got Mary, who said that it was very helpful to be able to work with me because she knew about my recruiting experience, and we were able to capitalize off of that experience because I spilled beans. I let y'all know what's going on behind the scenes, help you interpret information because I'm basically your recruiter in the pocket. Right? Because you can reach out to me at any point and be like, okay, they said this. Is this normal? Is this supposed to be happening? What does it mean when they say this? Should I reach out? Should I follow up? Those are the types of questions that I get from people who, who work with me. I get those questions from job seekers, but from the people that sign on me with clients, I'm there to answer those questions, to take the confusion, the guesswork and everything out of these situations. Okay. And then Katina actually had worked with me. We did LinkedIn, we did interview prep. We also did some salary negotiations as well. So those are the things that I work with my clients with. So if you're looking for that support that you need in your job search, yeah, you need to jump on it. You need to jump on it right away. I'm here to support you. You can book a free call on my website. You can book that call pretty much any social media platform you can find me. You can reach out to me. Book an appointment with me. And I think, so if you want to, so here's some information here about how you can schedule an appointment with me if you want to. This is rightstepresumes.com. If you just go to rightstepresumes.com and find a button that says schedule a call, book a call, you definitely will be able to, to work with me from that. All right. Let's check these comments. Yes, Mel, 3,000 years old. We do. Remember, when we were young, we didn't know any better. We thought, 40 was old. And now, we know that that's not true. That's not true. 40 is not old. 50, 60 is not even old. You're only as old as you act. You're only as old as you present, and how old you think you are in your mind. So, yeah, we got to definitely let these people know we don't do the ageism thing. We don't give them any reason to try to count you out. All right. So if you're interested in my resume writing services, you can do a critique session with me, and it's a 1-hour recorded session. And so I go through your resume line by line, comparing it to the opportunity that you're interested in, telling you where you need to make changes, move this here. I need you to expand here. And then you take that information away, give me the additional information that we need. I clean the resume up, and you end up with the finished product. Like I showed you these befores and afters. So you end up with a resume that you're able to apply with in 1 to 3 days. Now that session is $349. So again, you get the recording, but again, it's not only just the resume that we're working on. We're working on that confidence. We're working on your branding. We're working on the value, and also your value proposition. How are you able to market yourself? How are you able to explain or communicate or articulate to these hiring teams who you are, what you do, how you add value, and why they need to pay you what you're asking, and much more. Right? So we do all those things. And then I load you up with resources about how to customize your resume going forward, about, how to build your accomplishment bullets, tons of words that you can use in the place of, those when you get lax and start saying manage. I give you some other words that you can use for that, so you're not using the same words. So you can elevate your language, elevate your vocabulary when it comes to how you market yourself, in your career marketing, in your branding. Now, if you want to, some people just say, you know what, I don't want to write my resume myself. I want somebody who can come in, clean me up, get me together so I can be prepared to do what I need to do moving forward. And so in that case, I do offer a done for you resume service. So you do get a targeted resume from scratch. And that is completed within 10 business days, because there's a lot of research that's going to go into me building your resume up from scratch. You also have to complete a questionnaire where I'm asking you all of those probing questions that will also help you prepare for your interview. So after working with me, you will be more confident in communicating your value in interviews as well. So like I said, working with me on a resume, it's an experience. It's a vibe. It is not you just getting a document via email and going about your business. That is not how I do the work. I want to make sure that you are showing up as your best self, that you're showing up authentically with tons of value. Okay. So if you want to work with me, you can DM me. You can either message me here privately in the private chat, or you can message me across Facebook, LinkedIn, or even YouTube. Message me resume and let me know that you're ready to get started. Okay. And then I'll send you the link and everything to get you on board. All right. Any questions? Let's look at the chat for questions. All right. Hey, Stacy. Thank you for checking in. Any questions? All right. So while we're waiting for those questions to come in, if you guys have them, work with me. You can send me an email. You can find me on LinkedIn. That is my main platform. That is where I give all of my tips. That's where I post videos. And it's where I spill the beans on a lot of things that happen behind the scenes in the recruiting world. Or you can visit my website at rightstepresumes.com. There you can buy digital products. You can check out other services and coaching programs that I have as well. You can also read an article or two. You can check me out with my credentials. But you can find me across most platforms, but I'm usually LinkedIn is where I'm hanging out. All right. So if you guys don't have any questions, any more questions in the chat, I appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. I will be doing this again. So tune in on next week. I will, the event is already posted. So you will see that on Facebook and on LinkedIn if you want to come to the next live resume critique that I do. And then let me know whether or not this is something you want to see from me on a regular basis. And I may try to do these more. But yep, it doesn't matter the field that you're in. If you would like to, schedule a call with me, again, I will put that up. If you want to schedule a call with me, you can do that on rightstepresumes.com /schedule, or you can just click on any of the tons of schedule buttons that I have all over my website. Thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all have a good evening. Bye.